Willy is a serial killer. Some fans argue that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a carefully staged elimination game where a child is selected, tested, and removed on purpose. Every kid represents a vice. Augustus is gluttony, Violet is pride, Veruca is greed, and Mike is obsession. Each one falls victim to a trap that directly punishes their flaw, while Wonka stands back and lets it happen. He never stops the accidents. In fact, he often encourages them. Each accident even has a soundtrack. The Oompa Loompas knew what to sing, when to sing it, and exactly why. It wasn't chaos. It was all planned ahead and rehearsed. And besides, the place doesn't even look like a real factory. It's a maze of dangers, temptations, and oddly specific punishments no sane adult would ever design for kids. The theory suggests Wonka never intended for them to win. Only Charlie was meant to walk out alive. Okay, if you're still here, you're probably into this stuff, which is great. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe. All right, back to the video. Kevin from Home Alone becomes Jigsaw. It's been suggested that Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grows up to become John Kramer, better known as Jigsaw from the Saw series. Kevin shows alarming behavior as a kid. He builds traps that cause real physical pain. He watches his victims suffer and even smiles while doing it. He's left alone, ignored by his family, and constantly fending for himself. That kind of childhood trauma could easily warp someone's sense of morality. Jigsaw's methods echo Kevin's skills. He creates detailed, handmade devices designed to punish people and teach them lessons. He uses voice recordings and watches from a distance. Even the traps themselves feel like upgraded versions of Kevin's childhood pranks. The theory connects their personalities, methods, and childhood neglect. It turns a Christmas classic into the disturbing origin story of a horror icon. Jack Dawson in Titanic was a time traveler. A wild theory claims Jack Dawson wasn't from 1912, but from the future. Starting with the details Jack casually drops. He mentions going ice fishing at Lake Wissota, a man-made lake that didn't exist until 1917. He also talks about the Santa Monica Pier, which wouldn't be finished for years. His haircut, rucksack, and mannerisms all feel suspiciously modern. Then there's the way he appears. Out of nowhere, wins a ticket in a last-minute poker game, and steps in just in time to stop Rose from jumping. He never tries to save himself, only her. The theory says his goal was to alter the timeline by ensuring Rose lived and carried out her legacy. And once his mission is complete, his purpose fulfilled, Jack disappears into the icy ocean. He vanished, ensuring the new timeline stayed exactly as it should. Was Jack really just a drifter with good timing, or was he sent there for a reason? Did he find Rose by chance, or was he always meant to guide her? The cars in Pixar killed the humans. One of the strangest Pixar theories claims that the Cars movies take place after the extinction of humanity, and that the cars might be the reason why. The buildings, roads, and cities are clearly designed for people. There are gas stations with doors, hotels with windows, and restaurants with drive-through speakers that serve no real purpose for cars. Yet not a single human is ever seen. In Cars 2, one vehicle even says, "My grandfather drove on these roads," raising questions about whether those memories belong to cars, or the people who used to drive them. The theory suggests that cars became sentient, inherited the personalities of their former owners, and took over. What we're watching is a world where machines are reenacting a human society that no longer exists. It's cheerful on the surface, but something about it feels deeply wrong. Peter Pan was the angel of death? Some believe Peter Pan is not just a magical boy who never grows up. He is actually a spirit who escorts children to the afterlife. Well, according to this theory, Neverland represents the afterlife, and the lost boys are children who died young. Peter appears to kids who are on the edge of life and offers them escape. Once they agree, they follow him to a place where they never age, never grow up, and never return home. The idea fits with the eerie nature of the story. Peter Pan is cheerful but also manipulative. The children forget their past lives, and Wendy is the only one who chooses to leave, the only one who survives. The theory turns a whimsical fantasy into something haunting. Peter does not save the children, he collects them. The Rugrats were all imaginary. This haunting theory claims that all the babies in Rugrats are figments of Angelica's imagination, created to cope with emotional trauma and neglect. Okay, according to the theory, Chucky passed away during childbirth, which is why his father is always nervous and emotionally fragile. Tommy, they say, was stillborn, which could explain why his dad spends so much time in the basement, building toys for a child who never actually gets to use them. As for Phil and Lil, the theory claims their mother suffered a miscarriage. Without knowing whether it would have been a boy or a girl, Angelica imagined both, creating twins to fill the emotional gap. Angelica controls the world of the show. She speaks for the babies. She creates their adventures. And when her mood shifts, so does the tone of the episodes. What looks like a fun cartoon might actually be one lonely girl's way of coping with loss, trauma, and confusion. Snowpiercer is a sequel to Willy Wonka, a theory so strange it actually starts to make sense. The claims are that Snowpiercer is a direct sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Both stories are about a closed, self-contained system ruled by a mysterious genius who tests people through dangerous trials. In Willy Wonka, kids are eliminated one by one as they move through the factory. In Snowpiercer, passengers are killed off as they move through the train cars. Each section reveals more about control, class, and manipulation. The theory suggests that the engineer Wilford is actually an older Charlie Bucket. He inherited Wonka's factory and adapted the same survival of the fittest mindset to a post-apocalyptic world. The candies become protein bars. The Oompa Loompas become train workers. The parallels are uncanny, and once you see it through this lens, Snowpiercer feels like the darkest possible continuation of Wonka's legacy. Doc Brown is suicidal at the beginning of Back to the Future. Some fans believe that when Back to the Future begins, Doc Brown is testing his time machine with full awareness that it might kill him. And he's okay with that. In the opening scene, Doc casually stands in front of the DeLorean as it speeds toward him at 88 miles per hour. He tells Marty the machine should vanish into time, but he never flinches. No safety gear, no remote shelter, just a wide grin and hope. The theory argues that Doc's early behavior is erratic and depressed. He lives alone in a warehouse. He's bankrupt, the government is after him, and his only friend is a teenager. The test with the DeLorean is not just a scientific leap, it is a gamble with his life. This gives Doc's later redemption arc a deeper, more emotional meaning. Neo never escaped the Matrix. A popular theory argues that Neo never actually left the Matrix. Everything he experiences, even in the so-called real world, is part of a deeper level of simulation. Clues start showing up after Neo supposedly wakes up. He still demonstrates powers that shouldn't work outside the Matrix. He stops Sentinels with his mind. He senses things before they happen. And his connection to machines continues without any interface. The theory claims the machines created a false reality for rebels to escape into, giving them the illusion of freedom while still keeping them under control. Zion, Morpheus, and even the Architect could all be part of this secondary system. It reframes the trilogy not as a story of liberation, but one of layered control, where even those who think they are free are still plugged in. The Babadook is grief made real. Many fans believe that the monster in the Babadook is not a literal creature. It's a manifestation of the mother's unprocessed grief and emotional breakdown. Amelia is a widow who lost her husband in a car crash while he was driving her to the hospital to give birth. Every year, her son's birthday reminds her of that loss. Instead of facing the pain, she avoids it, suppresses it, and becomes emotionally distant. The Babadook first enters their lives through a strange children's book that seems to appear from nowhere. As Amelia tries to ignore it, the creature grows more powerful. It mirrors her growing rage, exhaustion, and isolation. It doesn't come to destroy her. It exists to make her feel everything she's been running from. By the end, Amelia doesn't destroy the monster. She locks it in the basement and feeds it, suggesting that grief never truly disappears. You don't get rid of it. You learn to live with it. Ferris Bueller was a figment of Cameron's imagination. Some fans believe Ferris Bueller wasn't a real person. Instead, he was a creation of Cameron's imagination, a bold, carefree alter ego that helped him cope with stress and fear. Ferris does everything Cameron is too scared to try. He ditches school, talks back to adults, steals his dad's prized car, and charms every person he meets. But if you look closely, Ferris rarely interacts with people outside Cameron and Sloane. Every event unfolds the way Cameron might want it to. The theory suggests that the entire adventure is taking place in Cameron's mind. Ferris is the voice that tells him to live, to take a risk, to finally stand up to his father. By the end of the film, Cameron is stronger. Ferris fades, and the story feels more like a mental breakthrough than a high school comedy. The events of Inception were all a dream. Many believe that everything in Inception from start to finish takes place inside Cobb's subconscious. Throughout the film, reality constantly slips. Cities fold, scenes jump without transitions, and time flows inconsistently. Cobb's totem, the spinning top, never clearly falls. And his kids never age or change clothes, which feels unnatural. The theory argues that Cobb never truly wakes up after his time in limbo with Mal. Instead, he constructs a complex dream to let go of his guilt. Each team member represents part of his psyche. Ariadne guides him. Arthur grounds him. Saito offers redemption. The final airport scene feels too neat. Cobb returns home with no consequences. His charges are cleared instantly. It all plays out like the perfect ending he desperately wants to believe. The dream did not end. He simply accepted it. The genie in Aladdin is a time traveler. Some fans believe the genie from Aladdin is not magical at all. He's a time traveler who's been stuck in his lamp for thousands of years. When Genie finally appears, he references celebrities from the 20th century. He does impressions of Jack Nicholson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Rodney Dangerfield. He uses modern slang, jokes about vacation brochures, and acts like someone who spent time watching cable TV. But Aladdin is supposed to take place in an ancient Middle Eastern kingdom. None of those cultural references should exist. The theory claims that Genie is actually from the future, and his abilities are not supernatural, they are technological. Even the flying carpet could be interpreted as advanced machinery. Agrabah, with its mix of old-world charm and strange innovations, might be a society rebuilt after a collapse. What looks like fantasy could be forgotten science. The home in Coraline is a trap for dead children. A chilling theory claims that the other world in Coraline is not just a parallel dimension, it is actually a trap designed to lure and consume children's souls. The Other Mother, or Beldam, offers Coraline everything she wants. A perfect home, attentive parents, unlimited treats. But it all comes at one price: sewing buttons over her eyes. The theory argues this isn't just symbolic. It's a ritual, a way of removing identity, memory, and humanity. Inside the secret world, Coraline meets ghostly children who came before her. Their souls are trapped. They were once like her, tempted by comfort, and tricked into giving up their lives. The house itself seems alive. It shifts, breathes in a response to fear. Everything is designed to trap, drain, and devour. The theory suggests Coraline narrowly escaped a spiritual predator, and she may not be the last. Andy's mom was Jesse's original owner in Toy Story. A surprisingly emotional theory suggests that Andy's mom is the original owner who abandoned Jessie the cowgirl doll years before the events of Toy Story 2. In Jessie's flashback, we see her former owner, Emily, growing up and eventually forgetting about her. She leaves Jessie behind in a donation box, moving on to makeup, music, and teen life. But one detail stands out. Emily had a red cowgirl hat that looks almost identical to the one Andy wears in the first film. Andy is never given a Jessie doll until much later, yet he already has a matching hat. The theory suggests that the hat is a hand-me-down, passed on from his mother, who was once Emily. This small connection ties Jessie's heartbreak directly to Andy's family, turning the story into a quiet cycle of loss, memory, and reunion. The Simpsons are stuck in a time loop. A long-running theory claims the Simpson family has been trapped in a repeating time loop since the early 1990s, frozen in a cycle where they never age and nothing ever truly changes. Despite decades of episodes, Bart remains 10, Lisa stays 8, and Maggie never speaks. Holidays come and go, technology updates, but the characters are permanently stuck in the same year of their lives. The town resets after every disaster, and continuity glitches are brushed aside with jokes. The theory suggests something more sinister. The family may be caught in a simulation, or even a purgatory-like state. Their memories don't carry over, yet their personalities remain fixed. No growth, no closure, just endless repetition. What started as a cartoon satire might actually be a subtle, looping horror story hiding in plain sight. Ash from Pokémon has been in a coma since episode 1. One of the darkest theories in the Pokémon universe suggests that Ash Ketchum has been in a coma ever since the first episode, and the entire series takes place in his unconscious mind. In episode 1, Ash is struck by lightning while protecting Pikachu. After that moment, everything changes. He stops aging. Time becomes flexible. New regions appear constantly. He meets hundreds of people, yet very few of them grow or change. The Pokémon themselves grow increasingly strange. Legendary creatures become more common. Battles feel less about logic and more about emotion. It's as if Ash is building a world based on fragments of memory and wish fulfillment. The theory argues that this explains the series' eternal loop. Ash never reaches the end of his journey because he never woke up. If you made it this far, you might as well like and subscribe, because we've got more awesome videos on the way.